Hello there, and welcome to another episode of the Great Hall Podcast. This is definitely the first take. I definitely did not fuck up the first one. Here with me today, I have DuplEx. How you doing, buddy?
Hello, doing well. What about you, mate?
I'm doing great. It's been a while since we've been on this funny ride here on
True.
this podcast, and I've been itching, dying really, to talk about Monster Hunter with you.
Yeah. Drew, man, there's so much to talk about. I really cannot, I've been waiting so much to geek about stuff like this with
Same,
someone.
same. We've all been
Yeah.
so busy, and I think a good opener for what we're going to be talking about today is the whole Return to World campaign.
True.
Because the reality is, after Rise ended, there hasn't really been an awful lot of stuff to do Monster Hunter wise. Besides go back to the older games, or to the games that
Yeah.
you haven't played. So we both have been back on that Monster Hunter World grind.
For
In fact,
hours.
the funny thing is, I actually did it before the whole campaign, like the
Yeah,
official
you-
one launched.
Yeah, you started streaming in again and was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna play again Ward since people like it. And
I missed
like
out.
2 months later, return to Ward, right?
Yeah, I finished the world playthrough in October. We went through the
Yeah.
entire base game all the way to Fatalis, but man, I feel like a clown, not gonna lie.
Nah, I mean, to be fair, it's still nice. The thing about Ward is that it's always a good game to come back to, I think, except for a few things that slow it down. It's actually kind of crazy that now it's reaching 150,000.
It's breaking records for the most amount of
It's
players on PC.
breaking records, which is
Nuts.
it's absolutely crazy for a how old, 6 years old game.
Well, now
right?
6, yeah, because 2018, we're in 2024 as of we're recording this,
Jesus.
so it's
That's
nuts.
crazy.
But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm very happy about it for a lot of different reasons. I have a video that's talking about the subject already and in a bit of a surface level, but I did. People don't know this, but I did play Monster Hunter for the first time with DOS on my PlayStation 2. But back then, I didn't know what Monster Hunter was. I was just a kid. I really didn't understand what the game was about, and I barely played it. I barely remember Kokoto and all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
I kind of just dropped it. So I consider Monster Hunter World to be my true first Monster Hunter experience, because that's when I knew what the game was. That's when I already, I didn't speak English back then either, which was a pretty big motivator. But World is a very close game to my heart, because it's the one that really brought me into the series. And see it have so much attention, and not just from the community, but also from Jono, the community manager for EU, streaming it. It's so cool. It's actually just heartwarming to see
Yeah, Juno's
something like this
been-
happen.
Juna's been incredible as a community manager, just seeing him stream basically every week, or twice a week, I think, actually, with the community getting hub and all that. I like that the Monster Hunter community, it's growing, but it's still staying the same as it always was, which is a group of hunters hanging out together. It's one of
Agreed.
the things
Hard agreed.
I
Jono,
love
if you're
the
watching
most.
this, somehow, we love you, dude. Really good stuff.
Yeah.
Keep it up. And to every single employee that goes into making Monster Hunter what it is. But the Return to World, I think it's funny, because I've actually sold 2 of my friends already to play Monster Hunter World. They never played a Monster Hunter game in their life, and they looked at World sales, right? Because they know
buy it
that
right
it's-
now.
Yeah, well, they know that I like the game a lot, and so they turned around and they asked, "Dude, do you think I should play it?" And when you want to just scream and say, "Absolutely, yes, do it. What are you doing with your life?" I just kind of went,
Yeah,
it's
I think
alright.
it's fine.
Yeah, I think it's a
It's
good
alright
time.
game.
I think
It's
you
a good
enjoy it.
game.
The game, it's an alright game. So one of them picked it up, and they're like, "Oh, this is hard." The other one picked it up, and they've already completed the base quest. So they've already killed Xenojiva in a week.
That's cool. Yeah, that's good. I remember same thing kind of happened with a lot of people I know, which is the craziest thing about Monster Hunter World and why I love it so much, is that now if I just hang around with people, I can be like, yeah, I play Monster Hunter, and people know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah, because
Like,
you've been on you know, you've been a Monster Hunter fan for much longer than I have.
I played Portable second, just like you. I didn't know it was a Monster Hunter game. I just played it like, okay, yeah, this is a cool game on my PSP. And I played it. And then I remember getting Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, and it was my first, like, Monster Hunter game. I knew what I was doing, right? And then I got to World, and, like, holy shit, people actually know what my favorite game is about. And so I remember one time I was hanging out with my cousin, and I was like, what games do you play in your PC? And he was like, Monster Hunter. And I was like, holy shit.
Whoa, hold on, you know what that is?
Holy shit, you actually know what that is, which is, for me, it's actually incredible, because, like, back then no one would play Monster Hunter, and it still feels so cool that with World, and even Rise to a certain extent, you get more people into the game, and
I
actually
feel
get
you.
to
I 100%
talk
feel you.
with them
And
about it.
if I may, I think it's about. I think I need to get this out of my system. A little bit of childhood-like wonder, if you will. I didn't watch the Monster Hunter Wilds trailer live because it was very late. The Game Awards, for those of you who don't know, streams at a ridiculous time for us Europeans, right? It's,
Yeah.
I mean, like, what it ended at like 5 a.m. or something, and it
Yeah,
started around 1 to 2 p.m. a.m. or something. It
The
was
trailer was
nuts.
at around 5 a.m., I think.
It was pretty crazy. So I'm obviously not gonna be up for that. I was up until the point where I saw Armored Core 6 get Best Action Game of the Year, and then I was like, you know what, I'm happy with this. I'm going to bed.
That's it. Pack it up, boys.
Pack it
We're
up, boys.
leaving.
We got the W. Well, let's leave. And then I woke up to dozens of messages from like the Discord pings, from the channel, from like friends, even my own my own partner. She doesn't play Monster Hunter, but she knows that I love it so much, obviously. And she sent me a fucking message in the morning saying, "I
Dude,
think there's a
Monster
new
Hunter-
Monster Hunter game out."
That's fucking crazy, though. I love that. Same thing happened,
Oh man, when I
It happened
watched
to-
that teaser, oh,
man.
it was like a sign from a divine entity blessing the Monster Hunter community with yet another step forward.
The thing is, like, when I first watched the trailer, and maybe that's one thing I wanted to talk with you about, is that at first when I started watching the trailer, it didn't feel like Monster Hunter. Is
Since
it
you're
just
a
me?
composer, let me ask you this. Was it because of the music?
It was because of the music and the setting as well. It was a bit more bleak compared to other Monster Hunters, and the music was all like synth stuff. And
Yeah,
it felt so weird, right?
At first when I saw it, because people told me, oh, there's a new Monster Hunter trailer, right? But if I had
Yeah.
watched it without knowing that, I would have thought it was like an Assassin's Creed game or something. I don't know.
You could have guessed it was Monster Hunter, but you weren't sure about it, right? It wasn't just like when you see.
I only
like,
clocked
Monster Hunter
it
Rise.
when I saw the Great Sword. I was like, that's a
Oh,
bit
yeah,
of
yeah.
a. It looks a bit small, but it looks
Mm-hmm.
like a great sword. You know, I'm just saying. But I didn't see a Palico, so that made me question it. And I was seeing all these different monsters. I was like, listen, the only thing that I've seen that I recognize is the sort of environmental awareness of the beasts around you.
Yeah, the ecology of everything.
And then I also paid attention to the Great Sword, but then I was only not 100% sure when I saw Rathalos in the end.
Yeah. Holy shit! It's Wild Hearts 2.
Oh,
Wow.
dude, Wild Hearts 2, bro! The first one did so well.
No, jokes aside, it looks very cool, and I love I don't know, the unique direction they're going for, even with the music. We do have like stuff like that in Word, which is like Rotten Vale uses synth and stuff like that. But seeing like a game that takes a completely different direction, both in art style and in music direction, right? It's so on point for Monster Hunter because they never do the same thing twice. But at the same time, it's so cool to see in general, right?
I was very surprised at all of the aspects. It really does seem like they are going all out because Gen 5 with World, Iceborne, Rise, and Sunbreak was the generation of Monster Hunter that really pushed the title. Monster Hunter World, or was it World and Iceborne? I don't know which one, became the most sold Capcom game in history. Still is their most successful game.
The best IP. Yeah.
And honestly, I'm not surprised. The Monster Hunter team pours so much dedication into their games. Because, let's be honest, here's the thing. Monster Hunter as a concept, it's a simple game. And the fact that because, you know, here's a boss, kill it, get its materials if you want, go to the next tier, and rinse and repeat. But it's the way they innovate that always keeps us just wondering what's next. It's kind of that like old saying, don't fix what's not broken, because they really don't try to go for something that Monster Hunter doesn't need to be, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It's always going to be a core, you versus the boss, go for it, and upgrade your material as you go. And the way to fix it, or the way to improve it, is add new monsters, add new weapons, add new weapon moves, and all of the shenanigans. So the Monster Hunter team really does a wonderful job, and the fact that they deliver complete games, I know that when it comes to microtransactions, people feel a way and another about it. I myself don't. If there's two things that I'm not a fan in video games, is RNG and microtransactions. But I tolerate it in Monster Hunter because it doesn't actually affect gameplay, and because it would be stupid of me to, discard everything else that they do. But anyway,
in Rise it was a bit like it was a bit more present compared to other games, but again, it never took away from the game experience, in my opinion, which is what I care about the most, right? Like, they still deliver with title updates as long as it doesn't get in the way of like new content and stuff like that.
Exactly. I think my overall position on it is, until they release things that actually affect gameplay, like, oh, this quest is specific to this pre-order bonus, or this because here's the thing. People who are willing to spend more money on your game, so you have a base version, you have a deluxe version, you have a collector's edition, they should get rewarded something. Whether it be something physical, which my preference is physical media, like I'm a sucker for it, and I kind of am a bit upset at the fact that we're moving towards an age in gaming where physical copies and physical editions are just kind of being forgotten. I don't really know the details of retailing and costs regarding that. I'm assuming that doing all over servers like Steam and stuff, it's cheaper and more accessible. But man, there's nothing like, because when I picked up DOS when I was a little kid, I looked at the back art of this what you call a case, and I just saw this big spooky dragon, and I was like, this looks awesome.
Holy shit, that's cool. Yeah.
But I don't know. That's just a little bit of side ranting on my end, but I digress. So we both were very surprised by Wilds. I was expecting a little bit to see a new Monster Hunter game in the Game Awards, because we didn't see one in Tokyo Game Show, we didn't see one in Gamescom, and I just kind of thought to myself, you know what? Yeah, maybe, but maybe not. Maybe not, because I wasn't expecting it to see it at the last position of the Game Awards, because that is the most prestigious position of a show.
Yeah. I expected it to be more in for the anniversary, right? I expected the anniversary to be the announcement, and I expected, I'll be honest, like the Elden Ring DLC at the Game of the Year Awards. So I'm really, really surprised about this outcome, right? I'm happy about it, of course. So. But nonetheless, I'm really hyped, and this also means that for the anniversary we're probably gonna get more news on it, which is
I am so hyped for it, because here's the thing, it definitely looks like it's really pushing the boundaries, and that's a good way to present my next question. DuplEx.
Yes.
Will Monster Hunter Wilds be an open world game?
I think. I mean, okay, this is a tough question because I don't want to say open world in the sense of Elden Ring open world. I think it's going to be open maps that are still interconnected without any loading screens.
That's a really good answer. Because here's the thing, when people talk about open world, we first need to define what is an open world game.
What is an open world?
Because, for example, is Final Fantasy XIV your definition of open world? Is World of Warcraft your definition of open world? Or is something like Elden Ring your definition of open world?
I think it's going to be kind of okay, you have something like, let's say, the Ancient Forest, and then you're going to be able to walk all the way to Astera without a loading screen. I think that's what it's going to be, but we're still going to have the intricate level design of Monster Hunter games, which I think it's one of the fundamental and key aspect of the 5th gen. And I hope I really, really hope they don't drop it for open fields, which they are cool, right? But they're not as cool as those cool map designs you have for
exactly. don't know, because the game is obviously going to be released in 2025. There's a lot of time. I mean, it's over a year since the announcement, which is perfectly fine, by the way. I just want to make sure that everyone knows I have zero problems with this. They could have announced it for 2026 and I still would have been just as hyped. Okay, like, let them cook. Let the developers take their times. Game development is already a bitch of a job as it is. But on that note that you were saying, I think that this game is going to match something like not Monster Hunter, Horizon Zero Dawn. Have you ever played that game?
Yeah. I totally see it, which is like maps with chokehold points, right?
Exactly. Well, it's maps with that are connected within the different zones, but there are definitely, you know, each zone is going to be their own thing, and I honestly wouldn't mind if they had to attach the loading screen between them. So imagine if, for example, let's make this a bit of a more simplistic analogy. So imagine a big square is the map, right? At the very center of the square, you have your hub, and we will talk about the hub in more detail later. But right now we're talking about the map itself. So at the center of the square, you have your hub. And if you go up to the hub, you go to the mountains. If you go left, you go to a desert. If you go right, you go to a forest. If you go down, you go to some caves. Do you understand what I'm trying to say here?
Yeah, it's an interconnected world that you can transition from
and
one area to the other.
Maybe let's say you're in the mountains, but you want to go to the desert and you don't want to go to the hub and then back. Maybe there's a path in between, right? But I think perhaps those paths would have a loading screen, because when I think about Monster Hunter Wilds on a more, you know,
realistic way.
Exactly, a more of a performance way.
Yeah.
What would the multiplayer be like, and how would it affect it? Because let's say you and I, like, I have my world open, right? I invite you in. We're gonna do some hunts. Could I potentially be hunting a monster at the opposite end of the map?
I really hope that's something that we can actually do.
But then think about it this way, DuplEx.
Performance-wise, I get it.
Performance-wise, how? I don't know the details. I'm not a game developer, but it could potentially heavily affect things, don't you think?
That is true, and it really depends on Capcom's side of optimization, which luckily they're really getting good at. And also, I want to stress something, that it's the RE engine. RE engine, like, some like tech fans already are like going crazy over it. It's the engine they used for Rise, and it's absolutely like witchcraft. Even as a computer scientist myself, like, when I see that engine and the things it can do, it's incredible. So I know this could be very, very hard and very, very hard to achieve, but I imagine that maybe even if by limiting the numbers of player in a lobby, they somehow make it so the world, it's all interconnected and everyone can access it, that would be an incredible experience. And I think, I would imagine that's what they're going for, because it would be really like such a shame they don't actually go for it, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at this point, this is because everyone talks about how you have the sort of slow mainline series, and then you have the experimental, faster-paced portable series, which I'm a huge fan of, by the way. I do. Yeah, I'm so happy that such a big company is so dedicated towards developing, improving, and innovating within a portable gaming, you know, it's industry. It's not something that a lot of people do. Most companies will do a game that's meant to play on a high-end PC, and that's it.
But I think this is the game. Sorry, that really wants to push the boundaries, right? So I'd imagine it to have at least a better form of multiplayer. Maybe either it's more
16-player lobbies. Hello, 16-player lobbies. Yo.
16-player lobbies. But like, one thing I realized now with the going back to word that you just mentioned is that, for example, for Expedition, it's a shame that if you go on an expedition, you have to shoot an SOS flare to have another player join.
Whereas in something like Wilds, you think that you could just say, "Yeah, let's go," and then you both just head out.
Let's go. And you're both.
That would be cool. I think that's a lot more immersive as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. You're both coexisting in the same world, so you both live there and you both can go on a hunt together. I think that would be the coolest thing ever. That would probably mean that like the lobby has to be 4-player maximum. And not 16.
I really don't want that. I want an 8-player minimum. I'm not gonna lie to you, dude.
or maybe like 16 in the lobby, but the ward is limited to 4 players at the same
I
time.
will not lie to you, brother. I have... Okay, so it goes back to the whole discussion of a central hub or a hub system, but once you exit that hub, you go into the world itself, right, for the quest.
Yeah,
So
I see that.
that's where I think you're onto something, because when I think about how it was in Rise, and again, like, listen, I'm not a Rise hater, I'm not going to compare things that are unfair, but when it comes to simplicity, I just don't think 4-player hubs are enough for me, because going back to
No, I
World,
agree.
having those full lobbies, people are hunting Safajiva, especially with these insane numbers. We're nearly at like 140,000 players on Steam. That's nuts. And just seeing lobbies full of life, full of people on their own grind, you could join any quest you like. I wouldn't mind it if in Wilds it's the scenario where, oh, in the hub you can actually, in the hub or in the village, whatever, you can all hang out together, but once you leave, you know, it will be the same as World in that sense, where you're in a quest but there's only 4 players that can be on that map.
Yeah,
I think that also makes sense from a performance standpoint as well.
Totally. Because like you have games like Baldur's Gate 3, which of course it's a completely different type of game, right? But on an infrastructure point of view, I mean, like the server management side of things, right? With Baldur's Gate, you can be on one side of the map and the other player is on the other side of the map doing a different quest. So since Capcom looks like it's trying to also upgrade its infrastructures with the Capcom ID and all the servers management and stuff like that, I really do imagine them pushing a bit more that co-op element
It does
in the next
sound
Monster
realistic.
Hunter.
Like,
I hope.
when you
At
put
least
it
I
like
hope.
that, man, I mean,
It's
shit.
always. I really hope it's that way, right? I have no way to be sure of it. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
I
at the end of the
imagine
day, we're all in the speculation phase more than anything.
I imagine that aside from like graphics, open world, and anything, I think the main thing that should go next gen is the multiplayer aspect, which is the best part of Monster Hunter for me. So I really hope they do upgrade that element as well, right?
I agree. I think that immersion is one of the best things that draws me to Monster Hunter as a series, especially to World and Iceborne as titles. Speaking of, in terms of pacing of the game, I mean, I think this is a pretty self-explanatory topic, but it does seem like we're going to be slowing things down, right?
Yeah, I
But in
imagine
its
so.
own way, because that mount looks to be very vital for the life and blood of the
Movement.
game, right? Because when you look at that mount, and I was actually intending on talking about this later on, but fuck it, we'll talk about it now.
Whatever.
The mount itself has quite a bit of equipment on it. It reminds me a lot of Torrent from Elden Ring. He has like a little sleeping bag / tent setup on the back, has a pouch which could be like items, and it has this bag with a
Gun.
bow gun. With a gun. It has a gun. Now I think we all seen that edit of the mount actually using the gun.
Grabbing the gun and having it in its hands, right?
That's hilarious. I love that. But
yeah.
I do think that mount is going to be almost like a portable base.
Camp. Yeah,
To a degree.
That's the main theory we're all going for, and I hope that's true.
And I think it's going to be essential because one thing that Palamutes did not cut for me was I wanted to have some sort of mounted combat system. Because with Palamutes, yes, in case people don't know, you can actually attack with them.
But it's very
It's
alright.
a very experience
Yeah.
indeed.
It does like 20 damage.
Yeah, they don't do a lot of damage. The combo it's the equivalent of like a mini sword and shield combo. And at the end of the day, like, you wouldn't really use that for anything. You'd much rather just get off your Palamute and let them do your thing. Whereas here, with this mount, he looks like he looks a bit more chunky, a little bit more muscly.
Like, yeah, actually possibly viable.
Fucking Velociraptor Puke baby over here. He's looking like he's been to the gym. And that's like another thing that I wanted to bring up real quick. You know how people are saying that, oh, 2 weapons and all of that.
Yeah.
How the hell is that thing gonna carry a Gunlance in that pouch?
That's true.
There's no way.
I don't know. I think that's just like a visual cue of like you're able to change weapon if you're actually able to do that, but I'm not sure. One thing is that you mentioned about the pacing, right? is that I think what it's gonna be like is gonna be, which this is gonna be a weird parallel, but it's gonna be like Armored Core 6. Hear me out. Hold on.
Okay, you got me. All right, you know what? Explain it. Go on, big
It's
boy.
gonna be like Armored Core 6 in the sense that it takes a lot from the previous titles, in the sense that it has like a base speed that it's comparable to something like Monster Hunter World, but it's gonna have like this little moments where it switches up and goes way faster, which is comparable to Rise. And same thing like Armored
So you
Core is more
mean
like
a roller coaster
a roller
gameplay
coaster, yeah.
pace,
You
which
have, like,
is
maybe
high points of, sorry for interrupting. It's like climax points of action with lows of steady movement and all of that.
I imagine kind of like for people that have played Elden Ring, I kind of liked how it sometimes forced you to get into Torrent to evade attacks. So maybe like fighting the dragons, it suggested that you get on Torrent and run away from like the fire attacks, right? And I imagine they try to do the same thing. I would love for them to do the same thing because it makes combat way more dynamic and way more. Okay, it's not just positioning, but it's also thinking ahead and using all the tools available to you to properly position yourself.
I think it's fair to say the mount was the star of the whole trailer. We didn't really see any combat. We saw some monsters running around. We saw herds of monsters, bunch of them, which is awesome, by the way. Like, we should have probably talked about that when we were talking about the open world and pace.
We do have to talk about that as well.
But, like, when I look at the mount, it glides. It obviously has these queue locations where it can do things like the hopping side to side. I'm hoping that the mount is going to be almost like your right arm, where you can do different things to the mount. You can teach it different skills. You can teach it to carry more things. You can maybe use it for combat. Like, you know how in Rise you have palicos that do different things like trappers, fighters, support.
You can specialize it.
I'm hoping that you can do that with the mount. And obviously, it comes down to the balancing team to making sure that you don't just have one skill that's better than everything else. I would love to see some balancing, but we'll talk about that towards the end of the podcast. When I was talking about the pace and the whole herds, right? Because here's the thing. When we see a herd in a Monster Hunter game, we see most of them like something like World, where you see maybe 6 or 7 Kestodon together.
Like and stuff like that.
My brother, there were like 25 fucking lizards.
Yeah.
It was and plus like the huge bears. Like, there were so many monsters on screen, and I have a theory, and I want you to hear me out on this one. So the lizards, the ones that have the lightning rods up in their backs.
The pangolins, right?
The pangolins?
The pangolin is like the... Is it called pangolin?
I don't know.
I think it's the
You're asking me about the thing you just said?
It's pangolin. Yeah, it's the thing that rolls up and eats ants. It looks like a pangolin.
Oh, that thing. Oh, okay. That's the name of the animal. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not very knowledgeable when it comes to real life ecology. Only Monster Hunter stuff in
Lightning
this.
rod pangolin. Right.
A lightning rod pangolin.
Anyways, the lizard, the lightning rod, the portable lightning rods.
Yeah, those guys, right? They even like in the screenshot of the game itself, you see a herd of them, and there's so many. There's so many of them. And on top of that, you had those bears. But this is where my theory comes into place. I don't think those bears are large monsters. So you know how you have
like
small monsters. Exactly. I think there might be a new category within the food chain to make the world even more like how do I put it? More realistic.
Yeah.
Which is a medium a medium monster. Because you have small monsters, we all know them, Jackie, Baggy, whatever the hell, like Zamites, all the, you guys know the drill. They have their own little corner of the map, they chill, sometimes when a large monster shows up, they leave, or you have Kestodon that will fucking fight to the death, you have Bullfango that will literally laser focus on you and make sure that your life is a living hell, which, by the way, if I end up in a fucking place with 20-something Bullfango, I'm... Ooh.
Nah.
Damn. Can you imagine? That would actually be really funny.
No, that would be really funny, though, jokes aside. Just make, like, a quest that it's just Bullfangos all over the map.
But moving from those small monsters, I think you get a medium monster before you get to the large monsters.
Yeah, it would be cool, I'll be honest, because like imagine like actually using that ecology to your advantage, like for example maybe using them as bait to like attract and
Exactly.
lure bigger
And I want to
monsters.
see if there's any sort of, in these herds, I want to see if there's some sort of mechanic where maybe if I afflict one of the herd members with something, they become aggressive and start hitting the other ones.
Yeah, stuff like that. I
Because here's the,
really hope it do.
I mean, there's no way that they expect you to just take on a whole herd. They would have to
Ah.
nerf the crap out of the monsters, so I'm pretty sure that there's going to be ways around that. So either you can lure them out, or you can afflict them with something, you know, and I don't want to see how they react. So for example, if I have to capture, a quest to capture one of them, and I only have materials to capture one of them, but there's another 5 or 6, how do I go about it? Because if I trap them, will the others react? Will they run away? It all depends on what kind of monsters they are, right? So that's very exciting, and I'm really looking forward to how these herds are going to behave in an actual, you know, setting.
Yeah.
But moving on from that, going back to that mount and the 2-weapon story, do you actually think we're going to have 2 weapons?
I think it's not really. It's possible and it's plausible. I think it's just a visual indicator of the fact that you're gonna be able to set up camp or somehow have a checkpoint that it's your mount, that you can change some things on the fly. I don't think it's gonna be okay. You actually choose to bring us a Gunlance as a second weapon, and you actually see the Gunlance over there. I think it's.
It could
graphics,
also
right?
be that that is not a light bow gun and is just a tool. That, I mean, it really resembles the what you call it,
Yeah,
the
it
stock
does look-
of an actual light bow gun, but it could be something like a grappling hook, some sort of signaling system. It could be something else. There's always that possibility.
Yeah, plus Monster Hunter has crazy design, so I wouldn't be surprised if
And
that
I'm not
thing
gonna
is...
lie to you, Chief.
Hmm?
I'm not sure I would enjoy using 2 weapons on the go.
I like on the fly, so just get on your mount and change it. I don't think I'm not sure how it would fit, since like how do those like builds and skill actually work, since like if you build for Charge Blade and then you switch to Gunlance, even though they're very similar, you're still gonna have to run different builds.
I
And
have a
different
theory
skills.
about that.
Hmm?
I have a theory on that. So
What
my
is that?
theory is that the mount can be equipped. This is again assuming that the mount is customizable on this to this extent. Is imagine this: your mount has a skill where you can call it during combat, and it can change your whole,
Like equipment
yeah,
on
your
the
whole
go.
setup, your entire mix set,
Hmm.
which I personally think would be incredibly busted. Not gonna lie. Because that would be hard to balance. That'd be a fucking nightmare. Because at the end of the day, you would just have... The meta would just be something like light bowgun and bow. Boom.
Yeah, just
Done.
imagine just making the monster fall asleep with like light bowgun and then just do the greatest punish with great sword, and you could spam that, right?
Exactly. That just doesn't... I
It's-
mean, to some people, it might sound fun. To me, it doesn't sound that fun. And it also takes away from the entire combat innovation side of things. That's just my opinion, though.
I just think it's probably gonna be a way. Again, I think it's just a visual indicator of the fact that you have essentially like a portable camp, and maybe you do have limited resources. Kind of like a lot of people were saying now, if you set up camp with your mount, you're not gonna be able to restock all of your potion and everything and change any type of weapon and any type of armor. But maybe you can choose a limited amount of stuff to bring, and from there you can decide to access it when you're on your mount, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, I wouldn't really like having 2 weapons. I mean, the scroll switch system was good. It was funny because you could
fluid,
change this.
especially.
You know, you
Yeah.
could change it. But at the end of the day, like, dude, I only used 1 scroll anyway. Like, I was playing Gunlance with Heaven Sent. All I needed was Blast Dash. Sorry, Reverse Blast Dash, and that's it.
I used a lot of the scroll, and I do like it because I mean every single weapon acts differently, right? And I think that's the main problem, that it's very hard to balance. I cannot imagine the Monster Hunter team actually managing to
I think it would
balance
be a
the fact that-
nightmare. I think it would make their job a living hell because or it would just make the game insanely unbalanced because it's like you said,
Yeah.
you get someone that has a status light bowgun, and then you place a bunch of bombs, you get a great sword, true charge slash, boom, and you keep doing that. That doesn't sound... I mean, it doesn't. It's just my opinion. It doesn't sound fun.
Otherwise, the second option is that you have a second weapon, but you can access it only while you're on the mount. So while you're on the mount, you can get that bowgun and shoot and run as you're on the mount, which that would be kind of cool.
Maybe. You know, that brings it back to the whole will the mount be usable in combat kind of thing.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Dude, I really want to. I really want to see some of that as well. Or there's always the third option, and the person who made the drawing is right. The raptor thing uses a gun.
Yeah, just hand grabs it and just uses it. What stained by beetle. Yeah.
There's always that option. I mean, you know, because continue on the whole combat discussion, right? Because here's the thing. I think one of the things that World does lack, and here is the World sort of guardian talking about it, is combat variety. And what I mean by that is quite simple. There is just very few ways to play like your weapons in Monster Hunter World and Iceborne. And this is coming from a guy who mains Gunlance that already has 3 distinct playstyles depending on the shelling type.
Just though, I understand what you mean, and I do agree with you that it does need some variety, kind of like Rise did, right?
You know, Rise did something really good, because you had the Silkbind skills, but then on top of it, you also had the switch skills. The switch skills is what I kind of want to see, not exactly a copy of, but replicated, because essentially what the switch skill were some of them did change your Silkbinds, right? But some of them just changed your basic moves. So for example, one for the sword and shield was, rather than doing the shield part of your combo here, you continue with the sword. So if you have a status of like build or an elemental build with your sword and shield, this is better. And you know, some of them were just straight up useless. Like, who the hell used charge shelling in Rise and Sunbreak? No, everyone uses charge like blast dash. Come on. But some of them were pretty useful. There was one for Charge Blade where if you switched, I think if you used it, it would count as a guard point, whereas the other one was just a regular swap. Stuff like this, I really want to see. And we're about to geek out a bit here, because what I think the biggest possibility here is to go and look at the movements in GU Valor style specifically. Because, okay, listen, I know Valor style is busted. I know Valor style is quite literally the best playstyle for most weapons.
Easy mode. Actual easy mode.
Yeah, pretty much, but there's a lot of stuff from it that can be borrowed into Monster Hunter Wilds. For example, again, Gunlance talk to bore everyone out. In GU, the Valor style of Gunlance has 2 main things that I absolutely think need to come back. Number 1, a guard point on your fucking reload, because
my god, please.
The shield on the fucking Gunlance might as well just be decoration. We basically only use it to block and nothing else, whereas every other weapon with a shield has like at least 2 different utilities for it. Charge Blade, Lance, Sword and Shield.
The little buckler has more guard points than the Gunlance.
Exactly. It's a joke. It's literally a joke. Just get us some... So that guard point would be really good to have back. And on the same front, rapid shelling. Do you know what rapid shelling is?
Yeah. From GU, I do remember it.
So for those of you who don't know what rapid shelling is, let's say the normal type of Gunlance play is you know, quite literally normal shelling, where you do full bursts, which is the big slam, you squeeze the trigger, and all the shells that you have in your Gunlance come popping out. It does a lot of damage, it ignores armor, and, you know, it's pretty good. Now, a lot of the times, especially in a game like Rise that was so fast, doing a full burst is not necessarily a good idea, because shit could go wrong. It's a long animation for you to recover, and it could go wrong. Now, what GU, the Valor Gunlance does really well, is rapid shelling, which is after a normal attack, so a thrust regardless of position, you can then spam your shell buttons, and they not only do more damage, but with each shell that you fire, they become faster. And you can cancel. So let's say like a monster does a slam, and I hit it with an upwards thrust, I know that I'm not going to have enough time for a full burst, so I rapid shell 3 to 4 shells, and then when it strikes again, I can cancel that into a guard point.
Yeah.
Which can then maybe lead me to repositioning or something. Yeah, sorry, go on.
It felt more fluid, right? I didn't play much Gunlance, but like I can tell by playing it in Ward and Rise and seeing gameplay of it in GU, you can kind of see that to double down on the big tank and like a movable factor, they kind of made it very sluggish and very just like it doesn't feel as fluid as it did in GU, right?
I want to see Gunlance become as fluid as Lance and as Chargeblade. But I'll leave the Gunlance talk to another time. Going back to the combat. So yeah, switch skills could heavily borrow from some of these Valor GU moves. Like Greatsword has a charge slash where you can choose to do it on the spot or dash a little bit forward. Sword and Shield has this awesome thing where you can do like this backwards flip that does very little damage, but it gives you iframes. And from there you can decide whether to charge back in or something. Anything to make the combat a bit more fluid, because although I'm loving World and I'm, enjoying the Gunlance in World just as much as I, remember, there's a lot of things that I miss, and there's a lot of times where I'm just like, well, I just used Wyvern Fire, here I'm gonna stay and recover for a long time, or I just used a full burst. Meanwhile, I'm seeing the Chargeblade user next to me, which, by the way, I gave that game, I gave Chargeblade a try, and they're just like following into a slide that repositions them, or a guard point that allows them to do an SAED. Just fluidity in weapons is a very important thing to me.
Again, I think you can see the Monster Hunter team kind of slowly realizing that some weapons don't really work. Like, take Hunting Horn. Hunting Horn was the least played weapon, I think, up until Rise. And there was a reason for it, because it doesn't feel as fluid as other weapons. Like, staying still for good 5 seconds just to play a song that doesn't even do damage, it's not really fun.
It's a commitment for something that doesn't really pay off that well.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you're like playing solo. So with Rise, on the other hand, they took it and they realized, I want to make this weapon fun, and so they actually did. Hunting Horn in Rise and Sunbreak it's the best. It's like you're just playing notes super fast, and you actually have the chance to get in and get out whenever you want.
Exactly.
And that makes it way more fun and way more engaging as a weapon.
And it's not even the fact that... Oh, sorry, go on.
Sorry, I'll be really quick. It doesn't mean that you don't have to actually position yourself, because positioning is an important part of Monster Hunter. But it just means that you have the chance to do what you want, when you want, and you're on the same speed as other weapons, which is something that Monster Hunter is suffering from a bit, that some weapons feel better. That's the best way I can explain it. They just feel better to play compared to others, right?
Exactly. No, I think you hit the nail on the head there, especially because when I think about fluidity, I also think don't just make your best move so easily accessible. So for example, again, love Rise and Sunbreak, but Gunlance Endgame, when you have Heaven Sent and Reverse Blast Dash, dude, that's all you do. Like you Reverse Blast Dash into the monster to do stun damage, a slam, a full burst. You reuse the scroll swap move, which can give you iframes if the monster hits you, and you get your full shells, and your fucking worm stake back. Like it's
kind of crazy.
It made half of the moves in the Gunlance just obsolete, and you kind of had to do it because, like, who the hell used Bullet Barrage towards the end of the game? The move that looks really cool, unloads every single resource on your Gunlance, deals okay damage, like it didn't do a lot.
But then you stay still for like a good...
You would stay still for 2 or 3, 5 or 6, brother. Like it was a lot more than that. And even I think the most hilarious example is Hail Cutter, which was the ability where you would throw yourself upwards, reload your shells, slam down, and deal damage, which was like the coolest looking ability in all of Sunbreak, in my opinion. It cost 2 bugs. The reload time was when the wire bugs was fucking stupid, and then that's all you basically got. You got like 2 hits and another full burst. They reworked it so it costs. Check this out, dude. It's fucking hilarious, and I love that the devs are so aware of it because they were like, ooh. We gotta do something about this.
We gotta do something about that.
They made it cost 1 bug. They made it so that when you complete the animation, it actually takes time off your wyvern fire, and you could use it midair, which was the coolest thing to do. But
so you can wirebug and then do that. Yeah, I get it, and like that's what I wanted to get at. That the Monster Hunter devs, they know what they're doing, right? They
never make the same mistake twice.
Yeah, they never make the same mistake twice. So you can see them working on weapons and making them way more engaging. The thing I love is that you can tell it's almost like a passion project for them. So they do really worry if a weapon is not up to speed with the others, right? If they see Hunting Horn is not getting played at all, they're like, okay, we have to make Hunting Horn actually fun. And so they do. They see Gunlance, it's not as fast as other weapons. They give it the blast dash and they allow it to do crazy things that normally any other dev wouldn't do because they know it makes the weapon way more engaging and way more fun to use.
And I will come to their defense in one thing. It is a very difficult job to do all of this without making you overpowered. Because that was the problem in Sunbreak. Like I said, reverse blast dash, heaven sent, you're busted. Like the monsters are gonna struggle. And it's not very fun because at the end of the day you're using 2 moves. Like it's fun in the beginning because you're like, haha, look at this, it's silly. After a while, you're just kind of like, okay, this feels a bit shit. And I will come to their defense because a lot of people do say, oh, just do this, but it's very hard. It's really hard to strike the balance of, oh, this is good and flexible and it matches the weapon like identity, but it's not crazy broken to the point where the monster itself just can't punish you.
You also have to make sure that the weapon is accessible both for like a veteran player and a newcomer. So making it so that you can actually engage with different elements of the weapons as you progress, as you learn more about the weapon itself, it's something incredibly hard to do. That's why I like Charge Blade, like stuff like files and stuff like that. It's very hard to figure out as a newcomer. But then you master it, you master it, it becomes second nature. And then once you master that, you get to guard points. When you get to guard points, you get to punishes and stuff like that. And so you build up that skill that it's necessary, that knowledge of your weapon to the point that you can actually use it any way you want. And that's the hard part of making a good weapon, I think, is that being able to balance it in that direction.
When I think about all of that, I will always come to their defense in the sense that it is hard. It's not easy to do this dream work, right? Like it's a complicated process and there's always going to be something to improve. I love that the Monster Hunter devs are always like, you know, they have the mindset that progression is very important. But yeah, moving a little bit away from weapon, you know, balancing per se, do you think we're going to see a new weapon in Wilds?
That's actually, I don't know.
So, because a lot of people are speculating that weapons from other games, like the Tonfas, the Magnet Spike, or what's it called again? The
Accelerate Axe from...
Acceleration Axe, whatever the hell. Explore, I think it's Explore.
Explore, my bad.
But, I would personally prefer... for one of these weapons to return or for one new weapon to return. Because here's the thing. I know for a fact that Magnet Spike is busted.
No, they would have to rebalance everything about it. I'll be honest.
But then if they're doing that, why not just make a new weapon?
I think personally I would like one new ranged weapon and one more close range weapon. Because I think, like, okay, don't get me wrong. I'm not a long range user. I just use bow, which is borderline long range weapon, and I do use it now and then. I mostly play like blade weapons. But
you're a hunting horn main, aren't you?
I'm a charge blade and hunting horn main mostly. So
okay.
Yeah, I would love for the Monster Hunter team to actually like properly I don't know, expand on the idea of ranged weapon, actually make different type of ranged weapons. I think that's like there's potential over there.
People have
So,
said something along the lines of like a big fan, like that one girl from Naruto.
oh yeah, I get that. That would be cool or stuff like that, or even just like pistols and stuff like that. I don't know,
Mm.
any type of thing. Like I would like Tonfas because I really like
Me
Tonfas as
too.
a weapon. A weapon in general, not even in Monster Hunters. Just they look cool. Punching the monster till it dies, it
I'm
feels
more
cool.
of a I'm more on the different side of things where I'm not necessarily a Tonfa's like weapon type guy, but
They
seeing
look
how they
cool.
look and how they play, well, they look, I might be completely wrong, but the way they play is they look like if you put sword and shield, dual blades and gunlance in one weapon, here you go,
Basically, yeah.
which my god, they look so good. I would
Yeah,
love to, if that's the case and if that's how they feel, whew, I'd love that.
I would love to see Tonfas as well because they're really cool. I don't know if they actually bring them back or they make something based on them and then like maybe push it a bit further with like a different design or anything like that.
Mm,
But I do hope that we have something like Tonfas, so a melee weapon, and then we have a long range weapon because I do
mm.
think that long range homies, they've been starving for far too long. So
Have
I
they
I, I
though? Long range weapons are quite literally S tier in every single Monster Hunter game.
I know they're S tier, but the playstyle of long range weapon, from what I've seen and from people I've talked to that play long range weapon, it does become a bit tedious and it's not as engaging as a lot of the as the close range weapons.
Oh,
It's not as
that's a challenging one because I'm not gonna lie. I've tried long range weapons, and the only one that I found mildly interesting was
mm.
the heavy bowgun. Like that
Heavy
was the
bowgun
only
is
one that
cool.
I looked at and I was like, oh, you know what? That's hype.
Yeah, no. Like
That's
for
kind of
example,
fun.
I play a lot of bow, so I do get it. I tried heavy bowgun and light bowgun, but still. I
Hmm.
feel and I realize that although they do update it with Ward and they did update it with Rice, there's still, I think, a lot of potential in that sector that I would like to experience myself as well with like a new ranged weapon. Kind of like what they did with the Insect Glaive more in 4 Ultimate, which
Hmm.
oddly enough, the Insect Glaive in 4 Ultimate was way more of a mix between melee and range. Like the Kinsect was something you had to stop and actually shoot, which kind of gave it that long range weapon, but also a close range. I think if they kind of do something like that, but they double down on it, it would be very, very cool to see. Or something like Gunlance, but it can actually shoot from far away, for God's sake.
Oh, just yeah, yeah. I mean, the fact that you have a cannon in your hand and you literally are just limited to close range attacks is
Yeah,
something that I don't really enjoy. But I didn't want to go on that gunlance rant because of I already
again
did
for
that
the fifth
earlier.
time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Uh,
get it. I would like something like that. I don't know, just in general, for them to expand on the concept of weapons and not limit them to just like, okay, this is a weapon with its moveset, kind of like a fighting game, but it's
there are
way more than
people
that.
there are people who say, judging from like that weapons emblem that people have seen, that there is going to be a new weapon of sorts. And look, if there is one, at the end of the day, even if it is like a new, completely overpowered weapon, crazy levels of whatever, Monster Hunter is a primarily PvE experience. Yes, it would make the meta pretty much liable on that one weapon. I mean, that's always been the case, right? Meta and Monster Hunter have always been a weird topic because it doesn't. People will say, "Oh, why are you mad?" For example, I told a lot of people that in Sunbreak, I just think Longsword is ridiculously overloaded. Not
Yeah,
necessarily in damage, but just in amounts of flexibility. Like that weapon's
versatility.
defense better than a fucking counter lens. That's ridiculous. But it's more about the fact that I don't care per se because at the end of the day, I'm still gonna play the weapons I find fun. Gunlance is not everyone's pick. It's one of the least played weapons. Yet I love it, and I think that's absolutely chill to have weapons that are
It
that
makes sense.
overpowered.
Yeah.
It's not my ideal scenario, but even if they were to add something new and it was really broken, I'd be like, oh, okay, maybe I'll give it a try. Is it my thing? Yes or no? Okay, I'll just leave it. But I would like to see the weapons balanced a bit more, especially when it comes to weapon identity.
Yeah, the identity, I think it's like, even if okay, they make longsword like the counter weapon, but they make it so it's only counters and it's specialized in that. Okay, that's fine. Just focus on that and don't give it like a full toolkit that can do anything. Right?
Yeah, like no charged attacks, no fucking
No
buff
charges.
that literally doubles your damage.
Yeah,
No
that's kind of
fucking.
like that neutralizes a bit of the purpose of trying different weapons when you have one weapon that can do anything.
And
Right?
before you longsword mains start typing in the comments about how I'm dissing your
Go
weapon,
wash yourself
listen.
and go touch grass.
It's that too, but what I meant to say is, for example, look at EI/in World. Sorry, in Iceborne, because that's when it was released.
Iceborne, yeah.
If you fuck it up, you actually get punished. You lose
A spirit level.
you lose a spirit level, you get stuck in the animation, you can't just cancel it into another special sheath combo. You have to take the dick, because you fucked up. Like, it's your fault. Whereas in Sunbreak, dude, you can cancel it, you get a dash, you don't lose anything, you gain a fucking spirit level, and you can just go into another sheath combo. Like, it's ridiculous, which is sad, because there's a lot of really cool longsword players that make the weapon look insanely beautiful and skillful, but then you have, you know, a lot of moves that just do no favors, and that is what I mean by, like, it's the same thing with any other weapon being overloaded. For example, sword and shield, you could have just fucking removed the sword bit. Shield would have been all you needed for Sunbreak and Rise, because bashing combo plus Metsu Shoryugeki, dude, that was like the way to play sword and shield. Like,
I mean, sword and shield, on the other hand, it's like it's the weapon that it's meant to be super versatile. So I kind of get
it's
that.
it's the jack of all trades, master of none. Trade.
I get it. Jesus.
I'm just saying, I'm a sword and shield. Like, I play a lot of sword and shield.
Yeah. No, but like, you see what I mean? Like,
they nerfed Perfect Rush, and I'm still salty about it. I'm sorry, I had to get that out of my system.
That's true. That's true, though. I remember it in Word. It was pretty fucking cool.
Oh yeah, it feels awesome.
My bad. But in general, like, you do have weapons that have specialties, and they fill a niche. Like, I don't want my charge blade to be a support weapon that can buff my allies. I would kill myself before that. Just I'd leave that to the hunting horn. Or if you're playing a greatsword, I don't expect you to, I don't know, do quick attacks, or do elemental damage. No, you're meant to do big damage. And like, it's good you add variety to it, but again, it's very hard to balance it.
Exactly. Again, it all goes back to the same point.
You don't make it busted or make it so the
and
weapon
it's not an easy job. It's not an easy job at all. That's why I'm never gonna be, you know, upset about it per se. Like, I might be salty for the lulz and make a video joking about it, but will I ever look at this and go, this is broken, this is unacceptable? Absolutely not. It's not going to affect my judgment, because as long as my weapon's fun, that's all I care about. And moving away from the whole weapon discussion, let's go back into the whole world sort of building, right? Now, we were talking about the very likely case of this being an open world game, right?
Yep.
When it comes to a hub area, and this is something that I've actually seen a lot of people talk about, what do you feel about the hub, like the main hub, just being a caravan that moves around the map?
Oh, I actually never thought of that.
Oh, people have been talking about it so much. It's very
that's
interesting
actually
to think
a very
about.
Good idea. That's a very good idea. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No worries. Basically, I came across this with multiple people. Mostly it was viewers talking about this scenario, because they were talking about the... God, what's the name of the ship in GU?
I get it, the
or something?
Yeah, the flying ship, right?
Yeah, the flying ship. People were talking about, oh, what if it was that? And I said, I don't think so. A flying ship seems a bit much, even though flying ships are all over the Monster Hunter world. I mean, the Third Fleet uses it, and so on. I mean, it's nothing new. But I would prefer for it to be like a land-based caravan, because I highly suspect that Monster Hunter Wilds is going to take place in the unexplored or barely explored parts of the new world, right? I don't think it's going to be one of the old world parts. I could well be wrong. I think, who was it that made a video on this? I think it was Oceanus. He made a video basically explaining that there is a whole part of the old world
that it's not explored. You cannot go beyond the Elder Recess, because all that part is essentially banned by the guild because it's way too dangerous.
Yeah, exactly. Guild is some shitty bitches. But anyway, he explained that in great amount of detail. His channel's a much better source of information because here we're just speculating. But I do think that this is going to take place into something like, you know, the wilds of the New World. And so it makes more sense to me that we would have some sort of land-based caravan system where, like, I don't know, each wagon, like imagine this, it's a huge caravan and it's pulled by a monster that you can even choose. And imagine even this, you can say, oh, I'm going to set up camp in this part of the map, but tomorrow I want the caravan to be on this part of the map because I want to grind a monster there, right? And you can have a monster that you picked, which perhaps he can travel really fast, right? So the next day he will be there, but then he has to rest for 2 days. Or you can have a monster that travels slower, but is up every day kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I see it. Though on the other hand, like, I'll be honest, although I like the idea of a caravan, I still wouldn't have it replace like a main hub.
Oh yeah, no. I think it would be a good sort of portable thing.
Yeah, like a replacement to camps.
Yeah, exactly.
If we have something like a mobile camp that you can set up with like a caravan or stuff like that, that would be cool. But I don't know. One thing I realized is that I love Monster Hunter hub areas.
Oh yeah, dude, same.
I hope we have something like Ciliana. I love that feeling of, especially I love the feeling of a city that is being built and you see it growing.
Yes, that was going to be the next thing that I was going to talk to you about.
I really hope that we have something like Ciliana, that you can see people going around and building stuff and working on making this camp like better.
Because sorry, go on.
It's so good. No, it's in general like a vibe that I really like, and it feels very warm and very close to my heart, and I really, really like it. So I hope
build
that
up
we
on that,
get
man.
something like that.
Because here's the thing, I was going to present this first option to you of the moving caravan, right? You have a wagon for the smithy, a wagon for a shop, a wagon for whatever. You get the point, right? And it's pulled by a big monster, 2 big monsters, whatever you want to call it. Or, which this next one is my favorite sort of theory or speculation, if you will. You have an establishment, because you know like how in Elgato you do you're like setting up a fort, really, that's been destroyed. So what I would like to see is something similar, but you have a lot more input into this particular hub area. For example, you arrive and the only thing that's there is you have a shop that's very basic, a farm that's very basic. You have everything, but it's bare bones. And if you do this quest and you gather this amount of materials through one way or the other, exactly. Like maybe you can even have. This is really like it might be silly of me to say this, but you know how in World and Iceborne you have like the Grimmelkai and the Gajalaka and you can befriend them?
Yeah.
I would love to be able to do that and have like a little inn made for felines that they could stay in, and you could improve your bond and you can bring them in the hunt with you rather than just having to go in the world and find them. So you see what I mean?
Maybe you could help your feline level up faster or stuff like that.
Exactly. And in that hub, it's like you said, you would have your city essentially, right? You'd have your main big thing.
It would make sense because it would push you to exploration rather than just
exactly. And then here's where my other bit comes out of not just having one or the other. I want 3 tiers into this. You have your big city area that you can improve, right? This is the establishment that everyone comes to, and it's the wilds. People are just getting to know this land. Then you have a 1-wagon caravan that is, and this is where we go into another one of my favorite things, that is taken care of by your handler.
Yeah, makes sense.
And your handler looks after it. You know, she keeps the monster. She, he, they, them, whoever it is. Could be a bunch of Palicas for all I care. They take care of that side of things for you. And then besides that big city, besides that wagon, you can set up your own little camps, almost like
your little camp. Like, that would be perfect.
So you'd have the main big area. That's one place, right? You would have the wagon, which has specific places within, I don't know, the desert map, the snow map, right? And then you have 2 to 3 camps that you can place in each area. And you can, like, maybe change them around later on or something. That's kind of what I want to see, because I want fast travel, right? I don't think that going from one end of the map to the other whenever you need to like grind 1 or 2 monsters would be fun in
Yeah,
the
it's
long
not
run.
really fun.
I think it would get tiring, but I don't want super accessible, like, fast travel. Like, oh, you need to hunt a Rathalos? Here's a camp right next to its nest. Like, I don't want that.
Really.
I want you want to hunt a Rathalos? Let's see. There's a nest for a flying wyvern in this mountain over here. The wagon can only get you this far. Why don't you go over here and place a camp over here? And then maybe you can keep your other camp at the base of the mountain. You know? Or like, yeah, you have a mountain, the wagon is at the bottom, the one camp is like around the middle, and the other camp is close to the top. You see what I mean?
Yeah, no, I definitely see what you mean. And like, one thing that I noticed is that Monster Hunter team, like, as I think you've seen the Gaijin video where he says that like Capcom takes a lot of the old ideas and like re-elaborates them or like change them up for like new titles.
Yeah.
One thing is that I think you haven't played 4 Ultimate, right? You haven't
No,
played
I
Monster
haven't.
Hunter 4. In Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, it's all about a caravan, and you have a character called the Caravaneer, and you travel with this group of characters.
Oh yeah, and they travel around the different villages and all of that. That much I know.
That would kind of fit perfectly into what you're describing over here, which is like a group of it's your smithy and your handler and your chef that like go around different cities.
The gang, the boys.
The boys that go around, and maybe you settle down for the main city, or maybe you go to a small camp and stuff like that. And it would be cool because you would also I love 4 Ultimate. It's one of my favorite titles. It made me really care for the characters because they weren't NPCs. They were like travel buddies, right? And I hope they do kind of that in Wilds.
I think, yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from in that sense. I think it matches what I've been trying to explain better. I mean, you just brought a lot more clarity towards this.
It's the same thing, literally. It's just Monster Hunter did this in the past, so it wouldn't surprise me if they relive.
They could build upon it, yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not gonna lie. I would love for it to be a handler that you can pick because your boy does thrive with the waifu content. That's kind of what I do. I'm a Monster Hunter waifu guy.
Customize your waifu?
Nah, I much rather see. That's one thing. A lot of people think that I'm like, oh yes, yeah, I really want that. And not really. I kind of just want to. The only things I want to customize are my character, my helpers, so my palico, my mount. And I like to get to know characters, you know? Because everyone says, oh, you can build your own waifu. Like, people that tell me about this new run that I'm doing in Elden Ring, it's like, oh, no, you can build your perfect waifu. And I was like, no, that's me. That's my character. And even if it wasn't my character, I'm just like, I don't want to build a character for me. That's a bit, you know.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
I would like to get to know the characters more because the whole shtick, for those of you who don't know, is like the whole point about the waifus and just NPCs in general is the point that you get to extract a part of their personality to match something about the game that you like, or just overall a life lesson that you like. That's the whole point, you know? Learn a lesson from them. That's what I always say. Alright, sorry about that. Discord decided to act up and actually kicked me out of the call, so we're back. Okay, where were we? Yes, we just finished talking about the hub areas, right? So, next topic. DuplEx. The big thing. The big topic that we all talk about. New monsters.
The big thing. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a solid believer that beginner monsters, when I talk about new monsters, right, I always talk about the early tier monsters. I want them to stay similar. That's where I want the returning monsters to stay, right? Because
I see that.
Because here's the thing. When you think about the new monsters in Sunbreak and in Rise, who do you prefer? Great Azuchi or like Almudron or Allmother? You know, these mid to late game monsters are the ones that truly shine.
Yeah, of course. I would rather have an Almudron as a new monster rather than like a Great Azuchi, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, no offense. I mean, the Great Azuchi is pretty cool, but
it's cool as a great monster.
How many people really realistically go on and like hunt them? You know, it's like I like Jagras a lot, but I literally only hunted him once in each playthrough I've done.
I think one thing that, like, sorry if I interrupt you, is that I noticed Monster Hunter is doing a lot with the newer titles. It's they have the base game, which is a lot of new monsters. So you get like stuff like your Great Jagras, your Puke Puke, right? You get stuff like Palomo, which is very early game, new monster.
Yeah.
But then when you get into the early game of the G rank, then that's when you start seeing like new monster like Nargacuga, Barriath. Barriath is arguably still like early game
Yeah.
compared to the lifespan of the game. And that's where you get the returning monster. And I do hope that Wilds has a lot of new bad boys, because like I like returning monsters as much as
Exactly.
anyone, but like I'll be honest, with
I'm
like this whole new world, I want to see cool ecology.
listen, I'm
taking
just gonna say this. As much as I love Nargacuga, I think Nargacuga, Barioth, and Tigrex need to take a break. I'm tired of seeing
Zinogre.
them.
For the love of God, for the love of God, stop Zinogre, please.
Really? I wouldn't mind seeing Zinogre again. I think
I like
Rathalos and
them.
Rathian are staples. It wouldn't
Yeah.
feel like a Monster Hunter game without those two. I like them too much.
I like Zinogre. It's one of my favorite ones. Stygian is probably up there in my like top 5 monsters. It's just we've seen them basically everywhere. I want to see something
I
new.
get you. I get you. That's what I'm saying. Like that's why I'm saying when it comes to new monsters, I'm okay with having more returning ones, you know? Like I'm okay with finding a great Macau. I'm okay with maybe
Yeah, I
finding a
agree.
great Jagras. And then when we come to mid to late game, like
Late
oh,
game,
we
you get
start hitting
seeing cool stuff.
like oh, you hit high rank, here's a mole monster. Or here's another snake wyvern that is nothing like
Yeah.
Najarala. Like that's where I want to see. Because the beginning, although I never really fly through my Monster Hunter games, I like to take my time. If a set looks cool or has cool abilities, that's all it takes for me to grind it, even if I know that later on I'm going to completely exchange it, right? But in the early game, I never really find myself too fascinated with these early game monsters. And I know why, because they are designed to be unique,
They're
but
designed
simple.
to be, yeah, simple, exactly.
But when I think about the new, what I want Wilds to do is exactly that. Put more returning monsters in the beginning stages. By all means, put them later on as well, but sprinkle them later on rather than focusing on that. Because it's just my personal preference. People might beg to differ, right? People might just want an entire roster of new monsters, which I don't think is, realistic. But that's
want
kind of
them
what I
to
want
be
to see.
Mostly new monsters. That's all I'm saying. It's just like
Yeah,
a
exactly.
good 70% of like new monster. I'd be happy with it.
Oh, yeah. I think even a 50-50 ratio would be good
Yeah.
at this
Like
point.
any. I'll be honest. As long as they make the fight new and engaging,
Yeah.
I'm fine. I actually want to see a new Rathian. I'll be honest. That's something
A
that
new Rathian subspecies.
no, not like a new subspecies. It's something I've been oddly very excited about. Is that one of the things that I've noticed a lot of people criticizing in Rise is how Rathian still feels very outdated compared to the movement.
I think
And so
Apex Rathian did a good job.
Apex Rathian is a great example, and that's why I want to see what they do with basic Rathian and Wilds. It's something stupid because I don't really like Rathian, but I'm very curious because it's the bread and butter of Monster Hunter,
Just
right?
bring back monsters from online and Frontier,
Oh
monsters that we never
no.
fucking seen. Bring out like the Zenith boys. Like, dude, have you seen what some of these monsters look like?
Yeah,
There's
just
this.
like
I'm sorry, I have to tell. I don't remember the name of this brute wyvern, but it's a brute wyvern, like Brachydios. But when he puts his fists and his head together, he just looks like a bullet.
oh, I've never seen it actually.
Oh,
Which
dude,
one
I
is it?
need to find it and send it to you later. But there's like, I mean, look at Espinos. Espinos is a really good example of a monster from online, Explore, Frontier. That they look great. They fit in great. They're easy to adapt. Look at Flaming Espinos, and I really want to see more monsters like that. And there's a bunch of monsters in Frontier that I'm like, yep, I would absolutely love that. There's
Yeah,
actual bird wyverns. Bird wyverns, not
yeah,
just
like actual birds.
not
Yeah,
just greats.
I hope we see them, but I also don't. I'm very wary when it comes to the frontier argument because I'm also on the of the idea that a lot of the designs are like,
Very
it's
fantasy.
way too over the top. And people that say, "Look at Nerd Gigante, he's got spikes." I'm like, bro,
No,
nah.
some of
I
these
can
monsters in Frontier are just straight up
some
ridiculously
of these
like
monsters
fantasy.
I can't even pronounce the name, which is it's
Yeah,
enough
most
to
of them are like that.
it's enough to make you realize that some of them are way too over the top. Like Espinas works well because
What
he's
actually got me to think about that, sorry to interrupt, what actually got me to think about is when you said that you wanted a new Rathian, and I remember this Skutchkull video where he's talking about this Rathalos variant, subspecies, whatever. No, it's not an unknown. It's like a white Rathalos. He has tusks. He shoots lasers and shit. It's crazy, and his armor's gorgeous. I mean,
yeah, I know, but it's just like even if it doesn't always have to go that far. Of course, I imagine it just be naturally just okay. You have a monster, and you expect Bracken to do the tail spin, right? The flip.
Exactly.
But then maybe it switches it up. It does the animation for that, and it actually does a different move to
flipping
catch you
a fireball, something like that. Like,
yeah, something like
that isn't common.
It isn't common, but it makes sense considering that we fought Rathian like thousands of times. So now they're trying to push it. That's what I want to see with this new title and with returning monsters. Them being keeping that identity, but also being very unique fight-wise.
Yeah, I get you. I completely agree with you. I mean, when it comes to new, I'm just gonna like speak my piece so that you can do the same. Because I will make like content specific on what monsters I want and all that. But if you really want me to point out, because my two favorite monsters are Primordial Malzeno and Valstrax. But I'm not gonna be obnoxious and say like, listen, they're not gonna come back. They were just in Sunbreak. Like, come on, dude. There's no fucking way. Especially because Primordial is too tied with the Curio. I don't think we will ever see him again. But if there is one monster that I love, well, two, really, that I love so dearly, and I really want to see them again, it's Legiana and Odogaron.
Yeah, okay.
I was already
super reasonable.
I was shocked when Odogaron was not on Rise. Like, he's perfect for that theme,
he's perfect in the style. I think maybe because they want to kind of him to be the flagship of War. Not flagship, but one.
I mean, they added Lunagaron as well.
Yeah, plus, it would kind of wouldn't make sense with Lunagaron.
Yeah.
But for me personally, I think, like, of course, same thing over here. I really love Gore Magala and I really love Basil, and I do hope Basil comes back. But Gore Magala isn't gonna come back, nor is Shaguro, nor is gonna be chaotic. At least it's very
unlikely. It's very unlikely to see all of them return.
So one monster I would like to see come back is Valazak, because I love
yes, I'd love to see him back.
Monster is so cool. Him and Basil, I love them both, and since they're ward monster, I kind of see them in the ecology of this new system. So I really hope we see them.
Yeah. On that note, you know how earlier we were talking about Tigrex and Barioth and Argakuga maybe needing a break, and Zinogre as well?
Yeah.
If you want me to tell you two other monsters that I just kind of grew tired of, Kushala and Teostra.
Listen,
I love these guys, but goddamn. Like, there's only so many times that Teostra's going to do a supernova. I'm going to be like, whoa, I've never seen that before.
Yeah, that's why I want Val, because Valazak kind of got outshined by Nergigante and Ward.
Valazak was so good.
He's such a cool... He's basically a Bloodborne boss in Monster Hunter.
Yeah, exactly. That's why.
It's so cool. It's a Lich Dragon. It's so cool. I love really want to see more of him.
I love how his lore kind of ties in with his subspecies or variant, because it's a variant.
Yeah, also the fact that it hints at Namiel as a design.
Exactly. Like, Namiel's another great monster that I like to see back, because she was completely blown out of the shot. Like, she's just in the dark. Nobody knows who Namiel is. Love Namiel, though. But when it comes to new monsters as well, one thing that I really want to highlight is the types of monsters that I want to see back. Because here's the thing. Flying Wyverns, we always see them. Brute Wyverns, we see them. Starting to see them more. Fanged Wyverns. I need the insects. I want more crabs. I want snake wyverns. Like, I want Najarala to have a whole gang behind him, you know?
Yeah. When I saw Raknakadaki in Rise, I was so hyped because I love fighting monsters.
Exactly. I love Nursilla. I love the fight. I love the design. I love the armor.
Nursilla is one of the coolest monsters ever, and it's very early game too, so it's such a great design.
And Raknakadaki was cool. I'm not gonna lie. I loved Raknakadaki, the fight, the design. Like, I want monsters that not only make me afraid of them because they're so weird, but I also want them to just be really just very unique. Something that you wouldn't really fight at. Like, when you fight a Najarala that feeling of fighting this snake that try to coils around you, it can really only be replicated by Dalamador.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's
Because
a
like,
huge fucking Elder Dragon.
because if you fight something like Rathian and you fight Rathalos, you're kind of like, okay, yeah, they're kind of the same. Well, it makes sense because they're female and male, but like, okay, you fight Rathalos and then you fight Legiana. I wouldn't dare say that Legiana is like Ice Rathalos, but you
But they
kind
are
of
similar. They do have
they're
similarities.
similar. Your muscle memory kind of kicks in when you see them do some stuff. Well, if you're fighting like a snake wyvern, you see it move in a strange way, and you're kind of like, "What the hell is it doing right now?" And you kind of panic in that moment. And when you see it do a cool move, you're kind of like, "Whoa, that's dope! I want to see more of that."
That's the stuff that I want to see. That's the stuff that
Like,
I really want to...
like when Raknakadaki falls down and then it makes that giant sack behind her. That's something any other monster wouldn't be able to do.
Oh,
But
yeah.
since you're doing a spider monster that's all about silk and stuff like that, you're like, whoa, okay, that's cool.
I just want monsters to be really reactive, because like the reason as to why I talk about Otogaron, like Legion, I just love the design, I love the armor, I think the fight's fun. I know a lot of people don't agree, that's absolutely fine, but I love Legiana to the bone. I think it's literally one of my top 3 monsters easily. And Otogaron, there's something that he does that's very specific that I really like.
When you
Which is
make it flinch.
Yeah, when you flinch him, when you knock him down, he doesn't go down. He like gets back up and pounces back at you, which I
so cool.
love seeing that every
I want
time.
more of that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of stuff that I want to see. So, and I also want to be genuine investment in Leviathans and Piscine Wyverns.
Yeah.
Like, let's have the fish.
Okay, now if I can actually ask you a question.
Go on.
A lot of people have been speaking of Leviathans and on Piss and Wyverns. Do you think we're gonna get underwater combat?
No.
Okay.
No, we're not.
We're on the same page.
We're not gonna get underwater combat. Like,
I'm sorry, Tree fans, but like, yeah, it's unlikely.
I'm still on the... Listen, if 3 fans are on that copium, just to make you feel better, I'm on the copium that around the Monster Hunter anniversary, they're going to announce a 3U or a 4U remaster to Switch and PC. That's my copium, so, you know, we can cry about it together. It's not a problem. But we're not going to be seeing underwater combat.
Okay,
Welcome to prove me wrong, but, you know.
No, I do hope that, like, we do get a new type of combat, and I think the mount is gonna be probably that. But, underwater combat is so much just to implement it, right? It would be cool to see because like it would mean you could get like a whole ass region that is just underwater, right?
Yeah, that it'd be really awesome, but
it'd be awesome, but it's unlikely. It's very hard.
That's a very...
I wanted to ask you because like a lot of people have been talking about it.
Genuinely don't think it's gonna come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, like, I want to see Plesioth again. I miss Plesioth.
Plesioth is kind of funny. I do like him as a fight.
I miss him. I think he's so cute.
He's a silly monster. I like him.
He's so stupid. I love him. And I want to see, like, him have a bit more investment when it comes to that kind of wyvern, you know? But,
yeah.
Like, on the final topic of, like, new monsters, this is a tinfoil hat kind of question. It's been a long time since we've seen this, the last one of its kind. But do you think we'll see a new black dragon?
I do hope they bring back Safi and make him an actual black dragon.
Oh, so you want to see like fully matured Safi?
I want to see a fully like if I had to choose one new black dragon to add to the list, I think it's only fair that Safi makes it there. I really like. Everyone fucking knows how much I love Safi. I just can't stop like adoring him even for 1 single second. So I do really hope that
I really like Safi, so I can definitely see that.
Since a lot of people are talking about the fact that this is set in the new world, and so the whole bioenergy thing is still on the table, seeing a Safi that it's fully mature isn't, impossible.
It's not, yeah, exactly. It's very plausible.
But I do think that, like, to top what Monster Hunter World has been, they do need to bring in, like, a new Black Dragon or a new fight that compares to a Black Dragon, kind of like they did with Safi, which is
exactly. Just something on that tier, something just crazy powerful. Because I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to see Fatalis again, and I don't want to see Elatrion again.
Please stop, no more.
I mean, Fatalis was really well done in Iceborne. He was in Stories 2 as well. Just let it be at that. Like, we don't need to see him again.
again. Yeah,
We can see,
I,
we can look at other monsters, you know? And I want, like, big boys, like the Siege Quest guys, Kolf Tarov, Safajiva,
that's
Lao
what I mean. Like
Shanlong.
seeing something like a new Safi or something like a Gen Moran level of fight, but with a black dragon would be very cool.
Oh,
Especially
yeah.
considering it's an open world. Imagine how the entire world would change. You would see like
Yeah,
the
exactly.
group
You
of
see, you
monsters
know that
moving
big
around.
spiral in the background that you see?
Yeah, just
Like, that must have been the work of some fucking crazy dragon,
yeah,
because that
just
looks
imagine.
perfectly symmetrical. And then
As
someone
soon
blew
as
it
I
up.
as soon as I saw it, I was like, imagine a Dalmador crawling around it
That's the thing.
and looking at you.
I strongly believe that the flagship or the big bad of Wilds is going to be either one or two snake wyverns
A big snake, yeah.
because of
Because
the
like
icon.
the
Yeah,
logo,
the
yeah.
logo for it. It looks it's pointing towards that direction anyway. But let's move away from monster conversations. Now, let's talk about something that is pretty difficult to nail down, which is power creep, endgame, grinding, and all of that. And it's gonna be pretty brief because this is a topic that's very hard to discuss without actual information. But here's the thing: DuplEx, random decos or random talismans.
Random talismans all the way.
Yeah, I
Jeez.
agree. I mean,
Okay, we all agree.
the reality
Yeah,
of it is I would like there to be no RNG. Like I'm the kind of guy that is like, listen, make it a really hard quest for me to
yeah.
get
I
a
was
attack
I was
4 gem, but make it so that I can work for it instead
I
of
was gonna
just
double down on that. Make it like all the way up to like master rank 100, even hunter rank 200. I'm
exactly.
fine with it being RNG, but once I reach hunter rank 100, 150, or even 200, please make me craft whatever I want to craft.
Yeah,
I just
I just don't want to go through curious crafting ever again. I think that made set building a fucking nightmare and just the grind for it in general. Like, listen, I like the concept of anomaly, but I did not like the stats behind it. Monsters had too much HP, hunts took fucking forever, and all of it for a chance to get what you want. Like, nah, it was not my thing. Like I said, you can make it really hard. Like, oh, slay 50 fucking final bosses to get an attack 2 crafting recipe. Like, I'll do it. I don't care.
yeah, just the feeling of not being able of control, like not being in control of your progress, is one of the worst part I think of Monster Hunter. Because like the thing about Monster Hunter and what pushes you to hunt is that feeling of reaching that goal, reaching that weapon you want to get, that armor set you want. So taking that away from the player is kind of it's a bit annoying,
I'm
right?
perfectly fine when it comes to RNG with monster drops. That is perfect. I don't
Yeah,
think that
that's
needs to
fine
change.
because it's a limited pool of elements. But when you're talking about stuff like
Skills, and you have
200
like,
plus skills, yeah, you're not gonna be like it's unfair to think that you have such a low percentage, like such a low chance of getting what you want.
that's why when it came to a lot of people who were like, oh, speedrunners cheat the decorations, and I was like, look, dude, if I was a part of Team Darkside and I had to spend like 50 hours to get one run right, yeah, I would also cheat in decos, because guess what? It's still a game system. It's just, cutting
It's
the
a game.
bullshit.
Play it however like that's why. Okay, like little tangent. I don't really mind if you cheat in your own game. I don't agree with
Oh
it,
yeah,
but
if it's your
I
own
don't.
game,
It's your own
fuck it.
game.
If you want to do whatever you want to do with your experience, that's fine.
Yeah,
Just don't
just
bring it to
do
the
whatever you want.
multiplayer.
So especially like even if like a speedrunner, as you mentioned, like Team Darkside uses, like custom saves or stuff like decos, and they get like 4 critical eye level 4, right? It makes sense because like screw that, like even them probably wouldn't have enough decos to complete the builds they
And
want
there's also
if they wouldn't
the
feed it
chance
in.
that it would just never happen.
Yeah, exactly. It's still like the chance that you're very unlucky and you're never gonna get that attack jewel or
Hmm.
that critical eye jewel. And that's I don't think in the philosophy of Monster Hunter.
'Cause if there's two things that I really don't like, just because a lot of people might think that I'm praising World and beating down Rise, there's two things that I really don't like when it comes to power creep and endgame systems. Number one, I don't like having an overpowered armor set that makes every single other armor set useless. Looking at you, Iceborne Fatalis.
Fatalis.
Because here's the thing. I did my entire playthrough of World and Iceborne, and I knew for a fact that once I reach Fatalis, everything else is basically obsolete. Like, everything else does not matter.
It doesn't feel as satisfying to farm for a set if you know it's not gonna be useful,
like,
right?
Sunbreak has that a little bit with Heaven Sent, but even then, Sunbreak does a much better job in making sure that the armor sets are more divided.
The thing that I loved about Sunbreak, and sorry for interrupting you, it's that compared to Ward, it made meta way more diversified. It wasn't just run for crit level 7, like critical eye level 7, attack boost and stuff like that. It was much more about building your sets in a specific niche and having each and every single armor have a different effect.
Exactly.
And I hope they bring that back with Wilds.
Yeah, exactly. I want to see not one overpowered armor set, but multiple armor sets that can be used, and then like negative abilities, bring those back. What's wrong with that? Like, make it so that this ability gives you -50 affinity because that can benefit a specific skill or a weapon. Like, that's fine. Bring those back. I love those. But I really don't like grinding for basically a gacha system, which was the career crafting. And I also really don't like reaching the end of the game just knowing that, yep, this monster has the best gear ever. And I get it, Fatalis, one of the most powerful monsters known to man, but, like, listen, dude, game-wise, it doesn't have to be that case, you know? It can be, maybe he has a really good skill, like Crimson Glow Valstrax had a Dragonheart, stuff like that. Like, make it so that they have their gimmicks, but I don't want to see them insanely powerful. I want there to be limitations. I want there to be less, if just not at all, any RNG, and I want armor sets to just not be competing with each other in the sense of what's the best gimmick per se.
Yeah, I think they should feel, as I said, fill their niche, and from that point, then the player can decide what they kind of like about this armor set and how they want to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen people use like Violet Mizutsune's set all the way up to Amatsu, which, like, it's still like an endgame monster, but it goes to show that there are some skills that monster has that are not necessarily super meta to the point that any
exactly.
other
some people were using Chaotic Gore, some people were using Amatsu, some people were using Primordial. Like, there's a load of different sets in Sunbreak, but
compared to Fatalis, which
but then
is
there you go. There's a different issue. Like, these two games have different, and even in GU, like, GU has some really cool abilities, but I know
but
for
then you
fact,
have alcohol weapons that are just, you know,
exactly, that are just busted. And then you look at something like Monster Hunter 1 and DOS, which is what I've been playing on PlayStation 2. You can only have like 5 skills in comparison to like the 12 that people have nowadays. So we have come a long way, and I do have very high hopes, because I'm not gonna lie, like, listen, I'm going back to the guiding lens for the 3rd time, and I'm excited about it. I'm grinding on the guiding lens. No, I'm sorry, I know people might disagree, but I'm having a good time in the guiding lens.
I think it's fun. Yeah.
I like the fact that it has its own map. I like the fact that it's you know, a separate element that isn't necessarily mandatory. I like it a lot, and I'm finding myself having a much better time there. And I genuinely, like, I might be biting my tongue, you know, later on, depending on this, but I dread the thought of going back to anomalies.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You know what? In fact, just because I think this suits the conversation so well, and it's a good way to like close the debate. There's a comment that someone made that I fucking love. I just genuinely think this is a very funny comment. Okay. This is from a guy that commented on my What Monster Hunter Rise Did Wrong video, which is part of it is criticizing anomalies. And he says, his name is Ty Kane Roberts 4513. Shout out to you, mate. He says, it's done. It's done and there's no going back. I've made it to AR 300 and already completed 5 special investigations with barely any time to spare. I have 5 minutes left to kill Special Investigation Extreme Risen Kushala Aura. I almost timed out because he just wouldn't fucking die. Even his base version's horns are a bitch and I have to break. But in Special Investigation, breaking his goddamn horns is literally impossible. He goes on for a couple of, similar, more specific monster rants, but does this look like a man who's having fun?
This man is broken on the inside and outside. He just...
That's not what I want to experience at all. But yeah, I genuinely think that I have, like, just to wrap it all up, because we've been talking for a while, I feel like the Monster Hunter team is very, very cautious of everything. DuplEx and I think the rest of the community are very excited for this title.
And that's why they're not showing us that much for now.
Exactly. I mean, as they show us stuff, we'll make more podcasts and all of that, but for now, I think, I mean, we've already been talking for like an hour and a half.
About a 3 minutes video.
Exactly. So I think we have our own limitations in regards to that, but I know that the community's gonna keep speculating, gonna keep talking about some awesome stuff, and I love it. And hopefully we get like a remaster of one of the older games as we wait for Wilds. If not, I'm still fine with it. But yeah, anything else you would like to say today?
Nothing really. I hope that Monster Hunter team keeps working on, has no issues while working on Wilds, and in general that they deliver a great game, which I'm pretty sure they will.
Wait, no, DuplEx, you're not following the script. This is the part where you tell people to like and subscribe.
Oh yeah, my bad. Like and subscribe, or else I'll go in the basement again. Please, he's pointing the gun at my head. Please, this is a call for help. Subscribe right now.
Silly DuplEx, get the fuck back in the basement.
No,
well, I think this is everything.
Thank you for having me on the podcast as usual.
You're my co-host. I'm not gonna do a podcast by myself.
Just talking to the wall by yourself.
Hi guys, it's me, Ark. Here I have my co-host, a wall.
The voices in my head.
The voices in my head are gonna co-host it. No, but that's been everything from us today, guys. Please subscribe and like the stuff if you think that this is interesting. And by all means, DuplEx's links are also always in the description of these podcasts, so go check them out. And yeah, this is it from us. Stay safe, and until we meet again.
Bye-bye.